3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Have We Made It Yet podcast. I am your co-host, the comedian Josh Yang.
And I am the actor portion of this podcast. It's episode 55, which means it's Ed Jovanovski Day.
Ooh, so Ed Jovanovski Day. Right, because, we're just a couple Vancouver kids trying to make it big in the big Toronto city. And, but, you got to shout out to Vancouver Canucks, which is currently a dumpster fire of an organization. But that's not why we're here. I mean, we could ask the entire Canucks organization, have you made it yet? And they'll probably say, oh, we like where we're heading. We just need some more veteran leadership, yada, yada. Uh-huh. But, okay, clearly I'm opinionated on that. But, okay, besides that, as you're listening, you're wondering, what is this podcast? Well, this podcast is two creatives, me and Lucas, just starting out their career in entertainment. And we wanted to really bring forth the process of making it from the beginning to the inevitable end, whether it's, soon or after a long career, who knows? Mm-hmm. But, all the ups and downs, the highs and the lows, we want to be able to share our experiences and then also have guests on to share their experiences and answer the question, have you made it yet? So to start off, Lucas, have you made it yet?
No, and I have what do you call it? I have taken steps back in terms of my you know how I said maybe in like one or two episodes before, I said I'm just gonna do auditions and then forget about them. Being this kind of cold-hearted bitch, like forget about, I don't need this. But man, I have kind of spiraled out, and today was supposed to be the callback day for some auditions. Yeah, I haven't gotten an email or a text from my agent, so I'm kind of upset. But it's okay, Josh. There's going to be bigger and more things to come. And also, if I may too, it's a PSA to all the kids out there who are listening to this podcast. It's getting sunnier. You might want to spend more time out there, which is great. Great to get some sun. But wear your damn sunscreen. Because I'm going to say this out loud, Josh. You and I were at a park earlier this past weekend, and holy shit, we got burned.
Yeah.
Holy shit. My legs, arms, my neck, his forehead, if I may say so.
Wow. That really, obviously you can see it because there's like a sheen off of it. If anything, it's like a sunrise.
Yeah.
Because of that. Oh my God. Anyways, okay. But no, the biggest one is probably when I wore a watch in it. And now you can definitely see the shade of the watch. But yes, PSA, definitely wear your sunscreen. Yeah. Because we're not all young. We can't be young forever. Anyways, but hey, Lucas, that's we're here. We're not all good news at the Have We Made It Yet podcast. We're the grinding it out through the misery and the pain to hopefully hit some highs in the future. And you know what? Like that crypto market, it may have dropped 50% in value within a few days, but it'll bounce right back up.
Bounce back, baby. Okay, with that positivity that you just exuded, Josh, have you made it yet?
Have I made it yet? I don't think I've made it yet, but I feel like there are, little tiny victories here and there. Especially today, there was happy to announce that CBC Comedy online. They put out a not a multi-page, it's a scrolling page, but it's like they put out an article about Fresh Rice Comedy, the web series. And they had all of our performers give a little profile, a little blurb. In fact, in my blurb, I was able to shout out the Have We Made It Yet podcast. So the podcast is out there, baby. We out here. We're just a little podcast that could, maybe, will. But hey, we're on CBC Comedy, the subset version of CBC News. But hey, you know what? That's still pretty big. That's still pretty big for where, I imagine I was a couple years ago and where we had this podcast a year or so ago. So
hell nice. Yeah.
It's nice. Dude, little victory.
Thanks for putting us out there, man. We're going to push us off that CBC bump.
Yeah. All about that little bump that people will be like, hey, we'll see what it if there is a bump in the analytics. But any what is it? Any promo, any PR is good PR, essentially. But yeah, it's great to be able to see that come out to promote everybody on the show. And in that similar fashion, I think that leads us to our guest for today, who is on the exact same article I was on. And you know what? He's a very funny comedian. He performed at obviously the Fresh Rice Comedy web series, and I think he started comedy similar to around the time that I started in 2019, from where I could find on social media. But we're a couple fresh. Oh, there it is. There, I just associate. I just brought in the whole concept of the series, but it's like we're just a couple fresh comedians, just ready to be crushed by this entire experience and hopefully come out stronger. But yes, very happy to announce that we have the very funny Nick Fernandes.
Oh my goodness.
Woo!
Oh my goodness. I feel like the bride. Oh my goodness. This is so overwhelming. It's my day. It's my day on the Have We Made It Yet podcast. Although after the article today, we might have to rename it to Has Lucas Made It Yet? And we'll have to move forward with that. But there's always an opportunity for adjustments because maybe this will make us pop. I don't know.
Yeah,
managing expectations so I don't get sad.
Expectations. Yeah, that was the title of one of our previous podcasts. You know what? No expectations. We should just be happy with what we got and just keep pushing forward. In terms of the title, have we made it yet? You know what? That, like you said, is like, hey, sometimes you may feel like it, but sometimes you question yourself. But which leads me right into this question, Nick. Have you made it yet?
No. I think my bar for making it is when that's the only thing I need to do to make money is comedy. So that is not the case. But I like you said, little victories. What this past couple days has taught me is that I'm really bad at taking a compliment. Because I don't know if you had this, Josh, but like your parents sent it to people, and then like my parents started forwarding along the nice things that people are saying to them, and then like my thread with my dad right now is just me being like, say thank you for me. Like what else do I say back to it? Because they're like, you're great, so funny, and it's like, thank you. I'm just I understand why like some famous actors like get awkward and aggressive, because like if you don't have like a canned response ready, like it's just like someone accosting you, right? And like and I felt that from a text message. It's just like, all right, this is a lot. Like I don't need to know what Eileen said. Thank you, Eileen, but I don't know Eileen. So like I feel like my dad's kind of like capitalizing on my success in this little thing, and it comes from a good place. He's really proud, and he told me that, but it's just fun. It's weird how you could complain about anything.
If anything, that's like our jobs as comedians, is to complain and pick apart little things and be neurotic, even though we shouldn't. And I just want to let you know, Nick, hey, you deserve it. You deserve it, Nick. You deserve it. We all deserve as well the accolades that we earn, and I feel like we earned it. I feel like, come on, this show, man, It was like a year and so ago. It was pretty big for us,
and we hustled for it too. It wasn't just like we were like got put on a show. It's like we fucking filled that audience. That took work.
Absolutely,
a lot of humbling to be like, please come. I need to get 20. I need to get 20 people in seats so that it's not an empty theater when I go on stage.
Was that the bar that was set? 20 per comedian?
It was something like that. I think it was like the goal was 30, but it was just like if everyone gets at least 20, it won't be sad. Because there was talks about like we could just funnel everyone to the front. We'll make like a little triangle thing. We'll put the camera so it looks like a full audience. But we ended up selling out to like I guess what it was, like 400 or something.
I think so. It was definitely really close. And it was great atmosphere. I know, like, I've been saying it a lot before, but walking out on that stage with that audience, that was the first time it felt like, this felt like a comedian type of, experience. This felt like a big moment. I mean, like, there's like two. There's like, you either have the stage theater moment, which is kind of a big element of that, but then you also have the comedy club, which is the essence of doing comedy. But like, being able
Both
to,
great.
yeah,
Both
being
great.
able to be on a theater, that was like the first time it's like, wow, this feels good, and it's something like, maybe I want more.
Yeah, and having done both of them, and having done both of them and had them go well, like obviously the comedy club that I did Absolute Comedy in Kingston, because I could get on their amateur night there, and they have a great amateur night because like there's nothing to do in Kingston, so people come out on a Wednesday, right, to see the amateurs, and like it was a great audience, and I went up, and like I've been there a couple of times, and one time I don't say this for myself, but because other people told me that were there, that I killed, and like it was like applause breaks, like people like crying, laughing, like, and like it was like, and I did like it was a very like middle-aged white audience, but I did a joke. I'm not sure how risque this podcast is, but about tasting my own cum, and they loved it. And like it's a ridiculous bit that if they don't like it you crash and burn really hard, because like it requires like hardcore commitment, because part of it is like where I mime that I'm a British butler whose job it is to add semen to his master's tea at tea time, and wow. Yeah, and I have to close my eyes and commit and like go through the whole act out, and then you open your eyes and you're like, did they like it? Like, and luckily they did. But it's nice. Those are the moments that keep you coming back and keep doing bar shows where no one's listening to you, and you're just like, all right, let me do my poetry.
Has that bit like worked in different audiences too?
Yeah. It's but it's like I only bring it out if I know the audience would like it, right? Like you have to do a bit earlier in the set to see how that one will go, right? Like you got to put like a little canary in the coal mine bit that's like a little dirtier, like on the edge, and there's like, if they laugh hard at it, it's like, all right, then we're gonna put that one in. But like you can't have that bit on your set list. Like you can't be like, this one's for sure. Like it's not one of those at all. It's no nickname.
It's no nickname. That the nickname joke is definitely family friendly. A kid could laugh at that.
It's Old Faithful. It's Old Faithful. Like you probably have these bits, Josh. Like it's so good that I'm tired of saying it. Like because there's no fun in doing, like, because you're like, I know this is gonna work, and then you do it, and like it either it'll work like kinda or it'll work amazingly. It's never not worked, right? So like once you get to a bit to that level, you're like, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, but then you have to bring it out when you want to razzle dazzle, right?
Yeah, my Old Faithful. If anything, it was the first joke where like it came to my mind like years ago, even before like thinking about comedy. It was just like with my friends, and it was like the one night stand joke. And
by the way, before you keep going, anyone listening to or watching this, like, go watch our 2 sets, because we're gonna keep talking about them, and then come back to continue listening to this. They're 7 minutes each. Take 14 minutes, then come back.
Yeah. It's prescribed listening for this episode of the podcast for sure.
Otherwise, you're just gonna be like, sounds good.
Hey, sounds good. It's like watching the director's cut before watching the actual movie, pretty much.
Seems a little long.
Seems
dragged at parts.
The food service was good. But for me, I think definitely the Old Faithful is the one night stand joke. That one is like, I don't think it's ever not hit, and it just the turn of the phrase and the grammatical layout of it. It always, the audience, like, it's always a good one for a cold audience or like whatever kind of audience, because it immediately sets off with a laugh, and then I'm able to follow that up through. So yeah, definitely you need some good anchors, but once you get into longer sets, then you gotta extend it. How long was the set you did in Kingston?
I think that one was I like the sets there are 5 to 7 minutes, and then one time I the first time I was there, I didn't see the light, so I went 9.5.
Nice.
Luckily, no one was upset. I got off stage and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I honestly didn't see it because like literally it was my first time in the club, and then they're like, there's a red light, you'll see it, and you don't see it because like if you're looking at the audience, you're on a stage, you're looking at the audience, and then you're looking down at them, right? The people in the front row, and then you're kind of looking like level-eyed. The red light is like here, like here.
Above,
it's like it's up and to the right, so you only see it if you're looking for it. Like you have to really look for it, and I just didn't see it, and then I didn't make that mistake again. But luckily, someone earlier in the night like went like 3 minutes, like they panicked and got off. Like they were like, "That's it for me," you know. It was they were newer, but so like it was just like the timing just evened out, and everyone was like, "Cool, man, you were doing well, so yeah, you keep going." But if I was bombing and went 9.5 minutes, that would have been an issue.
yeah. That's good. That's good, man. Like that's interesting. You bring that up because it's like, you kept going until you could see the light, or you felt like you should get off. So then
I was just like, it felt like enough time, and I was like, they should have given me the light. Oh, it's blinking. Like it wasn't on. They were like, get off.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, like, before you go into a set, then like, what's your mindset and plan going in? Because like I know a lot of different comedians have different ways of approaching it, like from that and also the writing aspect, but getting into the right mindset, like also laying out your set list. Because for me, I'm very like meticulous about exactly what kind of jokes I want to do. I know I practice enough, I time it out. But like I also do know other comedians that it's like they go in, they feel the audience, they see what kind of joke they want to do next, and that's very on the fly. And I think that's definitely a skill in and of itself. And I don't know where I am in that, but like what is your approach?
So I've done all of the things. So when I first started, obviously, like it was like, here's my full sheet of paper where I write out everything that I want to say on stage, with the commas and the dots and everything like that. That was my first few. But then I quickly realized that like I'm not like a Mark Normand or like a Sam Morrill type of comedian, like, or a Mitch Hedberg, like where it's just one-liners, and like that's not my vibe. Like I'm more so like I realized this as I was on stage, right? Like because you try on different personas, you're like, maybe I'm gonna be the dark comedian, and you do like a set where like, and then you see people cringe and you're like, I don't know, that's not for me. Like some people enjoy that, but it's just like I'm, and then I listened to a podcast. I can't remember what it was, but the essence of it, they explained that like you have to find your funny and find like and mind in your life. Like when do you make people laugh the hardest? Like outside of stage, just like the people that you're friends with, like where do you make them laugh the hardest? And I realized for me, it's like late at night when I'm hanging out with my buddies, and like we've gotten to that point where it's like we're just saying silly shit. Like it's not even like it doesn't even make sense. Like the essence of it is we went on a cottage trip like several years ago. I think we might have been still in high school, but like me and my really close group of guys, and we were there, and we're by the bonfire, and I'm not gonna lie to the audience here, I was like ridiculously high. Like, and like I had rolled like a baseball bat that was like yay thick, like it was like 2 king size papers like put together. It was amazing. It was like a cigar, and I was like smoking that, and like I came up with like somehow we got to the word pantalone, like it like in Italian it's like the plural form of pants, and we're all at least part Italian. My friend group, we call ourselves the Italian Stallions, but that's the name of our group chat. But while that word came up, like I started saying that word like I don't remember why it was funny, but to the tune of Umbrella. Paparazzi by Lady Gaga, like paparazzi, like, and it was like pantalones, like, and it was with the voice crack intentionally every time. And it was so stupid, like, but like now to this day, like anytime I go to any of my buddies, I'm like pantalones, like, and we'll just crack up laughing, right? And that's like the essence of like when I'm like the funniest is when I'm just saying silly stuff, right? And kind of being like that like we're hanging out type of vibe, which is more so like I feel like a Sebastian Maniscalco type of Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, even like he's more sedated, but I'd probably be a little bit more jazzed up. you know, in normal times. But all this to say, I started out writing out all of the words, and then I transferred over to just naming the bits with like one words, and then I would have a sheet of paper in my pocket with that, or like I would put on the stool that would just have a list of the bits I wanted to do. And then if I ever lost my place, I would just glance down and be like, oh yeah, I would look at the trigger word and I'd be like, that's the next bit I want to get into. Right. And then I would just segue myself into it. But then I started to get to the point where I was feeling like it was a crutch. Like even if I was like, I think this is what the next thing I wanted to get to, I would pull out the sheet of paper in my pocket, and I knew the next thing that was on the sheet of paper, but I would just keep checking it. It was like a nervous thing, and then I started to feel like it was a safety blanket for me. And I was like, oh, is this going to be what, like, just for me, like, I was like, is this what you're going to need? Like, what happens if you go to a place and like, there's like, you didn't know that there was going to be comedy there, but someone's like, hey, like, you want to go up? And like, are you going to need to be like, I need a sheet of paper, you know, like, or you have to bring your phone up with you. And I don't want to have to do that. I wanted to be able to like, just jump on, if possible. And so then I started to be like, you can write it up before, but you can't take it up with you. And then I got to the point like where I was like, no more set lists at all. The only time you write it out is if it's like a paid gig. And then because then you're going through and you're like, okay, what's the audience going to be like? You're asking that. And then you're like, okay, this is like the ones that I want to have like on tap, ready to go. And then that's where you bring up the nickname. And I don't know if you ever saw my I'm a Man bit, but that one got shelved for a while.
Yeah, no, that's the other thing where it's like, I think I realized when we all first started with the auditioning process, I don't think I really had a chance to see like that many of the other comedians prior to that at open mics, per se. So I don't think I've seen you outside of the Fresh Rice like prep stuff. Like,
I stopped doing a lot of stand up in Toronto for a while, like right in the city, because I was getting to like. I was getting frustrated because you'd go to a show and then you'd be like, hey, like, you can only get on if you like hang out for like 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. Like, and then maybe I'll put you on if we got time or whatever at like a better show type of thing. And I was happy to do that and stuff. But then I was like, I'm wasting a lot of time, like a lot of nights where I'm like, yeah, I'm around comedy. Yeah, I'm out at a nice place. Yeah, I'm talking to people. Yeah, that's fun. But I want to get more stage time. So then I realized, in order to do that in Toronto, there's so many gatekeepers. There's so many gatekeepers because basically any good show has its own gatekeeper. So you need to work yourself into the good graces of all of them, one by one, and you got to go all the way through. And then so I realized like you can get like bigger audiences more often if you're willing to drive. So then I started to go like, that's when I started doing shows like out in Oshawa, Ajax, like going to Hamilton, Richmond Hill, Barrie, Newmarket, like wherever. Like I was like going all around the GTA, Kingston, like I said earlier, all in like, driving an hour and 10 but I knew I had 7 to 10 minutes guaranteed. Right. So the drive was fine. It didn't matter because I was able to know I'd get stage time rather than going to like a mic where it's like, you gotta elbow 40 other like, straight white dudes to try and get to the sheet of paper. It's not a stereotypical thing. It's just most of the open micers are straight white guys.
It does. I mean, getting into the whole concept of like what really pushes somebody to go into it. It just seems like, the established comedian archetype is, kind of a straight white dude trying comedy out, and usually for a while it's worked, and now it seems like other people with different perspectives are seeing it as more of an opportunity, especially I think for like you, me, and other Asian comedians or ethnic comedians. Is like now seems more like a time where it isn't as much of just it's
not as an insular group, and there's more opportunities. But there are moments where like I've experienced where it's like, okay, we're going a little too far. We're going a little far with this. Like where it's like, shows where it's like it's only people of color and even if we have an open spot, like if you're a white guy that's friends with someone and you show up, like that's right, you can't get on type of thing. Exact thing happened to me because I was the white guy that showed up. because it was a person of color show, and and then they were like, oh, they're not showing up. I'm like, if you got a spot, I'd be happy to go up. It's like, sorry, this is only for people of color. And I was like, all right, can we have a second? Excuse me. Hi, I have a question. Do I need to go get a tan? Like, do I need to come back? Like, yeah, I'm happy to show my ancestral papers. Like, it was like, it was just I don't know. And also, it didn't help that the guy that did that, I was like, I don't even respect you as a comedian. You're not funny. But it's like, I think at its core, I hope we get to the point where it's just a meritocracy. Like, if you're funny, you're funny, and if you're not funny, like, you shouldn't get time until you get funny, like, and then you got to earn your spot.
I feel like that also just then also fits into that weird relationship between the comedian and the audience, right? Because then it's like, depending on how diverse your audience is, like, they may or may not get your joke. So like, I feel like like, say, a predominantly white audience, I guess if you're doing material like you said, you killed it with your material in like a predominantly white audience, like maybe sometimes certain material will work better for certain audiences, but like specifically like that cum joke, I could totally imagine if that was in like an Asian audience, and it was like, because Asians are just a bit more conservative, like that would probably maybe not do as well. So I feel like even then there's that, maybe if the audience gets diverse enough, then it's like, then it'll be to a point where it's like, then it doesn't really matter if we're catering too much to one specific identity, and it's just more the jokes,
Yeah, counterintuitively, like the further out you go, like, you think they're going to be like more racist, like from Toronto, like to smaller towns and things like that. It's like, kind of, but not. I wouldn't say racist. I'd just say just ignorant. Like, they're just not. They just don't like. If they say something like wrong or you're offensive, or like, it's not from a place of like hurt. Like, they're trying to hurt you. They're just like, they just don't know that they're not supposed to say that, right? Whereas like in Toronto, everyone seems to know what the magic words are, and it doesn't matter what magic words you say. No matter what the context is, like, they'll shut off completely as an audience, right?
That's true.
And a lot of the times I found like the audiences in Toronto are a lot rougher, like in the non like club spaces. The club spaces where it's like, that's what comedy's for. But like, if you go into bars or like, just shows that people like put on in like back rooms of restaurants and stuff like that, just harder audiences, because most of them just have their phone in their hand, and they're like, if they're watching you, they're Snapchatting you to their friends. Like, they're not in the moment or paying attention. Whereas like, you go to the boonies, and like, like, you might hear an N-word dropped at the bar, but like, they're paying attention. Like, so it's like, it's kind of a trade-off of like how principled do you want to be for your stage time? Like, and for me, I was like, I'm fine going up over the audience. I'm like, hey, as long as like I'm able to like get you on my side and get you to laugh, like, it shouldn't matter like what the rest of it is. But that's kind of like where I want to hope I'll get to.
Which cities do you think has the best crowds right now in the GTA?
Right now, GTA, none. Right now, none. But in normal times, I'd say my favorite shows we're at the Kingston Absolute. But I'm not sure if that's just because Kingston or just because Absolute Comedy Club is really good there. But I had a lot of really fun shows in Richmond Hill, and in Newmarket. I became friends with a really, really fun comedian named Liam Kelly. I don't know if you've ever seen him perform, Josh, but he stopped doing like the clubs and stuff like that, because he was able to just like go out on his own, like, and book his own shows. Like, he's like a really, really cool headliner, and he just does all crowd work. Like, he'll go up, and he has like a few like, touchstone bits that he'll bring out, but he'll just go out and talk to the audience and then create something out of nothing. And it was awe-inspiring. Like, he would just go up and be like, hi miss, what's your name? And like, Mary, nice to meet you. And who's that next to you? Oh, Billy, nice to meet you. And how do you guys know each other? I was like, oh, you're on a date. And how long have you guys been together? And like, he would just mine for information. And then sometimes it wouldn't even be like that funny. Like, he'd give like little one-liners for like for like 10 minutes. Like it would be like tepid laughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden he would weave together the story of every single person that he talked to in the audience into one like cohesive bit. And it would just create this uproarious laughter. It was incredible to watch. But like I started doing shows with him because he was kind enough to say that I was funny, and like we would drive together to shows and stuff, and I would get to open for him. And like every time like I got to do that was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's definitely like another level of skill. That
his name's Liam Kelly, by the way. I don't know if I said his name there. Sorry.
No, you definitely did. Liam Kelly. I'll definitely have to look out, because like I think the way you've separated it makes sense, because the audience is definitely different if you got like within the city versus outside of the city, and in certain respects, like you need to get outside the city or else you're in too much of a bubble of an audience. And like going to different towns is where you can really start to get a sense of what works in different audiences, different perspectives, different crowds. And so far I haven't been able to do that myself. Like I don't have a car. Usually I kind of just like try to go with whatever is the closest around me. But yeah, like the more that you mention that, like doing crowd work, weaving in the story, I think if anything, that's the next level of like, you're a professional comedian when it's like, sure, you can do your own jokes, and if that's your style, and like there's no crowd interaction, is like that's perfectly fine as well. But I feel like in terms of the expertise level of understanding a crowd and being able to weave that storyline, I think that is definitely one that takes years of experience. I had a similar experience like when I went to New York a year or so ago, just to take a look around. It was the first time I went to New York after like starting comedy. So I had a different approach to seeing comedy, like at the Comedy Cellar or the Village Underground area. It was like, now that I was seeing like comedy from these like bigger names, like I was trying to dissect how they were doing it. And like you said, it's like when you build an hour-long show, you have your prepared material, but then like sometimes by weaving the audience in and like building this thing, and then like throughout the rest of the show, you always have these like ammo cartridges in your gun where you can just make a quip to one guy in the middle of one of your jokes and have that like just kick off a whole round of laughter.
Or if something fails, like you have a safety net, because you can just be like, when I talk about Janice, they never not laugh. So I'm just gonna be like, all right, man, maybe I should just get Janice up here and stuff. Like, and then they'll go, ha, and then you go right into your next bit, right? Like it's really, there are so many little tricks. Or like some of the fun ones that I learned, like if you have a really rough audience, like where they're talking through it, like instead of trying to like get them to shut up, like just, you don't want to do this, but if you have to, like bring them in and ask them a question that you have a joke for already. Like, so if they want to be a part of it, just ask them a joke, like ask them a question where the punchline is your joke, like where the answer is your punchline. And no matter what they say, that you can top them. Right. Mm-hmm. So then you can, and then you just use that. And then if you do that like a few times, then they'll just be like, oh, okay, we just need to listen to this guy because he's the funnier one. And then they'll calm down.
Yeah, no, those things definitely, it comes with experience. It also comes with like mentorship. Like
only works if you are actually funnier than them.
True. Yeah. You also definitely need that'd be the worst if it was like you're up there trying to tell jokes and then an audience member gets bigger laughs than you. Then it's like, oh, you just got to finish the set and just like walk off, or you try to bring it back and somehow be able to turn it around. But yeah, so I mean, to continue with kind of like the crowd work element for me, like I haven't been doing any crowd work because like I kind of I'm more of a writer's comedian. There was like maybe one time something was happening, like people came into the bar and I was able to come up with a couple jokes on the spot and then put it right into my set, which was it was fun to do because it was a new thing I never did before. But for you, like how's your experience now with like crowd work? Like what's your comfort level?
I think my comfort level is what I just said. Like my level is like, I'm fine with like asking them a question, like having a conversation, but I know the conclusion is going to be a joke I'm going to get back to. Right. Okay. So I might ask someone, for example, I have a bit about getting gifts for someone when you're in a relationship with them. And the premise is that there's only 3 rules, is that it has to be sentimental. It has to, what's it called? And you always have to up the ante on yourself. See, it's been so long that since I've done it, but like, I have a story about like, what I did in my relationship, but what I would do it for crowd work is like, you just go, you find a couple in the crowd and you're like, how long have you guys been together? What was the last thing he got you? Like, and then you just ask them, and then like, sometimes their answer will be funny, right?
Yeah.
So like their answer will be like, he got you what? Footy pajamas, like, like you and then you can kind of like play around with that, but you always know that I always know that I can just go right back in, like, and just like bail from that conversation, right? But the thing that I was getting to right before the whole pandemic happened was I was trying to organize like running my own show because I wanted to get more hosting time, because the host job is you're not for the audience, you probably don't know this, and most comedians don't know this, is that the host job is not to be a comedian for the night that they're hosting. Their job is to be the spokesman for the audience. So they're meant to go up there and do jokes at the start and start it off, get them warmed up. But their job is not to be the funniest person of the night. Their job is to showcase everyone else and to make sure that the whole show goes well. They're responsible for the show, not their jokes. And so that might involve, if someone bombs, their job is to go up afterwards and make fun of the person that bombed. Not because they're vindictive or mean, but because they need to bring laughter back and make what just happened, even though it sucked, they have to make it funny, right? And so the lack of laughter ends up being the funny part, right? And I just wanted to be able to work on that muscle, and part of that is interacting with the audience, doing crowd work, and just being like, and if you have like a bit of a rowdier audience, if the host is very clear, it's like, hey, I'm happy to talk with you guys, like we can have a conversation and ham it up, but the other guys, like, let's be respectful, let them just get through their material and really enjoy what they have to say. But like, for me, like, you can feel free to talk to, like, you can talk when I'm up here, right? Like, and then you can kind of, if you give them rules to like have an outlet for themselves, then it will go better. And that's what I wanted to try and practice and get better at.
Did you do any Zoom shows during this pandemic?
Done a few. I actually have one coming up this Friday where I'm a paid gig for a real estate agent and his clients. So see how it goes.
Yeah.
That's a different crowd, man. Holy shit.
Well, it's going to be, I think it's going to be all different ages, and there's probably kids watching too. So we're going to stay away from the British humor earlier.
How have you found that kind of environment? Because I know, like, I hear a lot of different reactions to it, opinions of it, like from other comedians or like, more amateur comedians as well. But, how was your experience so far with that?
Obviously, it's not my favorite. I don't do a lot of them, but it's nice to know that you can do it. Just the weird part is that like you're used to like hearing laughs and like using that to pace yourself. Whereas like usually it'll just be like that, or or like, maybe it'll be like a peaky mic and stuff, like, so then you're just like, you don't want to hear them. Right. So that, that's just weird. So like you have to be really, I think you'd be great for it, Josh, because you're just very measured in your delivery. Whereas like outside of the fresh rice set, which I was like very, very polished because like I just knew the parameters I had to fit within, and like that I just knew I drilled that material to death. But normally I'm a little bit looser, and like no two times I do a set is a joke is the same, right? Like there's always there's probably a different inflection depending on how an earlier joke went. I might have it like throw in a different callback, like, that type of stuff.
Yeah. No, it's like, for me, I haven't really done or even really sought out for it, just because I know in terms of the writing process, you do need that kind of feedback to understand like what's good or what's not great. So for me, like, even like writing new material, I mean, throughout the pandemic, I've continued to like jot down ideas whenever they come up. But in terms of actually like writing out or formulated a whole new set of jokes, like, I haven't really done that much. Like, how have you been doing in terms of like writing new material?
For most of it, next to none, because I was really like I think my brain, my subconscious, like just got so sad from the lack of shows that I would always come up with material on the way back from shows. Like that's when I would come up with like my best ideas, because I had just like gone through my new stuff, like that I wanted to do that night, and saw how it went. But I also like listened to a bunch of other comedians and like their novel ideas, and I had a different experience, right? I think that's the biggest thing for a comedian is like you have to, and I hear this on podcasts all the time, is like, and I really feel it in my own life, like if you don't have experiences that you're having, like new experiences, there's no new information in your brain in order to create new material. And for me, I'm not a topical joke person where I look at the news and like make jokes like that. That's not what I find funny. And I've tried to like force myself to do those exercises, which is like good to see like, hey, I can do this. It's just like, it doesn't come easy to me. But now that like things are starting to open back up, like the juices in my head have started to flow again. And I think coming towards the release of Fresh Rice, it started a little bit more as well. It used to be like when I was performing a lot, like you ever have the bits that just like, it's like almost like an artist or something, like the muse just gave it to you. Like it was just, you didn't come up with it. It was just delivered into your brain. And then you had to think about it for 10 seconds. And all of a sudden it's like, this is perfect. Like, for example, ramen. Yeah. I never changed that.
Yeah.
The first time I did it was that. And I just went on stage with it. And it, like, I thought of it. I could tell you exactly where I thought of it. I was sitting at one of those like dinky tables in the middle of Young Dundas Square by Eaton Center.
Yeah.
Sitting there, like waiting to go do a show like down the street or something like that. Like sipping like an iced coffee. And I was just sitting there, and then I saw like a priest walk by or something like that. And then I was just like, oh, like, I'd start giggling about something. And then I must have seen someone eat soup or so. I don't know how it happened, but in my brain, I was just like, that'd be really funny if like you just sing about different like, and it was just, it all of a sudden it just came down. I wrote it down, and it made me bomb that night, the second half of my set, because it was a new bit. So what do you do with the new bit? You bury it in the middle. So because your closer is going to bring it back. But what happens if the new bit is better than anything else you have or your closer? Like then you just bomb because you couldn't follow yourself. So I bombed the second half of my set there at Yuck Yucks that night, which was
no, that's definitely funny, and it really is kind of like so hit or miss. Like you could try to push yourself to go into a regiment, like a routine of writing every day, but then sometimes it is just a situation where something just magical happens, and it just comes out the exact way that it sounds or it meant to be. I guess one joke I could probably kind of attach to that kind of mindset is like I sound like how I imagine turtles feel. Like that one, I don't think I think I was just like pacing in my room, kind of like going through
Were you wearing that shirt?
I might have been. I might have felt like very turtle-esque, but like I guess another thing is like I've been called, or like people have like said I look kind of like a turtle before, so that's always been in my subconscious. And then suddenly I think when I was just running through different sets, it's like, how you're just say quips, just running it out.
Well, everyone has their look like. Their look like. You have a sound like, but most people start their sets with a look like, and sometimes you'll do for the audience, like most comedians have a joke that they'll do early in their set where it's I look like blank, which is just a simile because it's an easy joke, but it lets them know like who you are, and like it gives you a good feeling like right off the bat, and like lets you do more jokes because they trust you, right? And so like I had a few, like some of them like are like the divorced dad one, like they hurt your feelings. Because like you didn't know it was true about yourself, but you kind of threw it out there as like a throwaway line, and then like you get like a really intense laughter, and you're like, oh god, like, and then some of them are great. Like I had one that popped for a really long time, but stopped working because it left a zeitgeist. But I would used to say that I look like brown Jon Snow, because like normally I have long hair, and like I had like a bigger beard at the time, so like I looked like brown Jon Snow. And then I had a whole bit about like the only difference is like, I don't need furs. I'm hairy enough, and then because I'm half Indian, half Italian, like I don't ride a dragon, it's just Dumbo and a sari. And then the really major difference between me and him is that it's not as socially acceptable when I fuck my aunt. But yeah,
Right.
I'm happy to burn that material here because I can't do the joke anymore because it doesn't. Not enough people know about Game of Thrones anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so
Game
like
of
I would
Thrones.
do like I look like Brown Jon Snow, and people would be like, "Who is that?" And then like the rest of the bit is useless if you don't know who that is.
That's true, because of like maybe it was the series finale that really left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. It's like, no, I don't want to think about that anymore. It's like,
It
yeah,
worked for another like 6 months after
mm,
the series ended, but then like there's no like for the previous 9 years, right? There was like either the promos for the next season or the season
mm,
was on, right?
mm.
So like the first year and a half that I was doing comedy, it was like a good bit because it was
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like looking back on terms of like not only like say how we get our inspiration or like motivation. I know like, hey, in the CBC comedy article, you mentioned a lot about like how your identity kind of does influence your comedy because that's where you can mine some of your like emotions and perspective because you're half Italian, you're half Indian. It's like, are you Asian enough? Am I Asian enough? Yada yada. So I'm wondering, like, in terms of taking, you mentioned the story with your high school friends, is like that you already have a foundation where it's like, you're funny amongst your friends, but what kind of pushed you to be like, I want to get on stage now and try comedy?
Yeah, so I've always I think from a reasonably young age, probably like 7 or 8 or something like that. I was like a fan of comedy. Like I loved telling. I wasn't funny at the beginning though. Like when I was little, I was more so. I was like insecure and like I got bullied a lot. So I was just I was sarcastic and acerbic. Like I was like Chandler, but with no charm. Like like I was just rude, like most of the time, like just like really sarcastic and rude. But then like I kind of learned how to channel that and be able to dial it into like when to use it, and some that still struggle with that on when to stop with the jokes and
Mm.
stuff. But yeah, and then it got like I was always like making my friends laugh and stuff, but I wasn't popular or anything. So in high school I was a band geek, and just like played in the band. I was first chair trumpet in the senior
Nice.
band halfway through grade 9.
Oh, so
Wow.
you're legit. Look, because
Yeah,
I was a
I was
band.
really good at the trumpet, and and like this is total brag, but like I started the trumpet in grade 9. Like I just got like really good within like 3 weeks because
Wow.
my sister was in the senior band, and my
Yeah.
mom dropped us at school, and the senior band practiced at like 7 a.m. and
Yeah.
school started at 8:30. So I got dropped off at 6:45 every morning at the high school, and then I was just in the music room, and I'm like I might as well practice, and then I just got really good, and then eventually I just asked the conductor and the music teacher is like, hey, can I play with the senior band like third chair? And he's like, yeah, here's the sheet music. We can always use an extra trumpet, like if you're willing to practice. And I'm like, cool. And then like just slowly throughout the semester, like as we got new pieces, I was like, can I get second chair? And like there was like people in the band that like were just trying to do it for a credit. They just didn't give a shit. And they're like, yeah, whatever, fine. You do second chair. And then I just kept moving up and into first chair by the end of the semester. But yeah,
Nice.
but all that to say that yeah, that didn't make me popular in the school. But and also the popular kids in my elementary school end up being the popular kids at my high school, and they were all terrible people. So it just kind of like it closes off that group. Yeah, there was a bunch of kids like and that. And then it was weird. Like, I don't know if you've ever had this or if you guys were popular at all, but like when someone who's really shitty to you, like comes to you for help because they're dumb, it's such a great moment. It's such a great moment you're in chemistry class and they're like, hey, can you help me out with this? I'm like, why don't you go fuck yourself? And like with no like it doesn't weigh on your conscience because you're like, I'm in the right here. Like, and it's so nice when you get to be like mean and rude and like there's no negative side effects to yourself. Like, because I'm a generally nice person, so if I'm like rude to someone, I'll feel it afterwards. But like when you have a chance to like be like truly shitty to someone and it's deserved, like I'm not above that, and it's I have fond memories of those moments.
Do you take that like kind of vindictive spirit on stage at any time?
Oh, definitely. I do a bit about the only time I broke someone's bone, which was I broke a kid's arm playing hockey.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I
Oh.
feel great about it. It was not my fault.
Yeah, he wasn't even during the game. It was after the game.
No, it was during the game. It was during the game. But I played defense. I'm not a good hockey player. Let's start there. I'm not good at hockey, but I was fast and I was good at defense because I have long arms, so I can get my stick really far from my body and poke check, right? But I'm terrible at stick handling, and my shot is atrocious. So that's why I was left defense. Okay, I could shoot it toward the net and get someone to tip it in, but that was about it, right? Yeah. But being good at defense, I was really good at covering the guys that were good on the other teams. They would put me on the ice like when they were on the ice, and then I would defend them, right? And one guy that I was playing against, who just so happened, this was when I was in like grade 8. The next year, he happened to go to the same high school as me. But he was starting to get frustrated with the fact that I kept taking the puck away from him, and he pushed me after like halfway through the second period away from me and said, "Get away from me, you dirty packy." And I got heated immediately. Yeah, I got so upset, and it really offended me because I'm Indian.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, I'm not Pakistani. Like, just like, you know, do your research if you're going to be racist, you know, like I just like do me the respect of putting some effort into your bigotry. Yeah. But I took the high road. I skated away, and like, even though it was the middle of the play, I skated away to the bench, and I was like, "Coach, put some," like, and I just hopped over the boards, and my coach was like, "What?" And he's like, he called me, like, I was like, whatever. I got really upset, but I just stayed on the bench. And then I cooled down, and I'm like, whatever, it's not worth it. And then I got back on the ice, like, for my next shift. This fucker jumps off the bench and comes after me.
No way.
Yeah. And I just so happened at that moment to have gotten the puck. I passed it away, and he tried to hit me.
Yeah.
And I was a stocky kid. And so he hit me, and I had a good low center of gravity. So he just bounced off. This was a common theme when I played hockey, because I played house league for the most part, which is like there's no hitting, but kids would hit me and then fall, and then the referee would turn around, see me upright, them on the ice, and then he would be like, "Whoo, penalty!" Like, and I would get so many penalties, and I couldn't even argue with them at a certain point. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go sit down, and so this was a common occurrence. So like this happened again. He hit me, he fell. But when he fell, he reached up and grabbed my jersey and pulled me down on top of him.
Oh, shit.
I was not a light boy at that time. So it was like a grade 8. I was probably still like 160 pounds, 165, just straight down onto his arm, like snapped it. And he broke his own arm, and he started screaming, and I started laughing. And it was wonderful. And I just got up off of him, and I looked down on him, and he's like crying in pain. And I'm like, I just stood over him until the ref came over and pulled me away. And I was just like, I didn't say anything to him. I was just laughing really, really hard. And then I went to the bench, and then he kept up, you know, saying really racist and not nice things, all while they're putting on a stretcher, taking him out. "I'm gonna fucking kill you, you fucking dirty sand monkey!" Like all this other shit. Like,
how old was this kid?
He was like 2 years older than me. So like I must have been like 13, 12. Maybe he was 14 or something like that at the time. Jeez. And and he was like, I would say like maybe 110 pounds soaking wet, but just a vitriol and terrible human.
Dude, he wanted all the smoke, man. Yeah. God damn.
So I kept doing and then we kept playing the game. And like every so often you'd hear like screams from the changing room and stuff, and like they're like taking his equipment off to get him to the hospital and stuff. It's still so fun for me to tell this story. I love it. But then we finished the game, and then I get off the ice. You'd think the story ends there, but it doesn't. So as I'm getting off the ice at the end of the game, I'm going towards the dressing room for our team. And as I'm going there, I get off the ice, and it's to my just straight ahead, but just slightly to my left. And I go to walk in, and then all of a sudden, from my blind spot, right here, I hear a screech, like a high pitched, like eagle, like type of thing, you know. And then as I'm turning to look, I see his mom running at me with her stay-at-home mom aggressive talons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the nails were like they're so long and sharp that like it's obvious she never has to do any sort of labor. You know, like there's no work in this lady's day, right? So she's running at me, screaming, and trying to get at me. I'm 12, guys. Keep this in mind. She's in her 40s. I am 12, and this is a lady in her 40s going to attack a child. Yeah. And she's coming at me, and as I'm turning, she's about maybe 2 feet from me, like her hands are right about to get to my face. Out of nowhere, I see this big brown arm come up, like a parking thing, the parking thing comes. The barrier, and just clothesline her, right to the ground. And I look up, it's my dad, and nice. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go India. It was a great moment. Yeah, but I like telling that story because it's kind of like I got in a fight, but there's no negative conscience on me. I can tell that story and just feel joy.
Yeah. That is nice. It's almost like one of those
such instant karma. I've never seen karma work so quickly.
Yeah.
But then it's also I always wonder in those situations if somebody's being racist and they're being the aggressor and then they just fuck themselves up. Is do they eventually put 2 and 2 together and realize oh no, wait, I did this to myself? Or
I don't think this guy ever.
No, I don't imagine. Yeah. I don't imagine that. I imagine he's just from that day on is oh.
He had spiked hair with the frosted tips, when I saw him the next dude, in high school.
Yeah. So
you can bleep it out. I'm gonna say his name. Fuck you. You can, if he's still around, I don't know, but that is his name, and fuck him.
Nice. So essentially, we've gone through your origin story. We've established the original villain and the motivator.
The original Sid, yeah.
Yeah, and now that is how you.
You know what's funny? I never thought about that story until I started doing stand-up again, and I was like, do I have any funny racial stories? Where you're thinking because I started to categorize my bits and then have folders, and then I was looking at them oh, here's all my jokes about race and the weird things and stuff. And then I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I broke that kid's arm, or he broke his own arm, and I was like, that is a funny story. And then I tried doing it on stage, and then I realized I was still angry about it.
Oh shit!
Because when I went on stage, it wasn't funny. Because I was just the inner anger came out, and I'm like, oh, I need to work on this a little bit. I need to take a second and because if you're still angry, it's not funny because you're just they see your rage, right? And then they're like, is this guy stable?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I needed to get a little bit more distance, but think about the funny parts and pace it up.
Yeah, Bill Burr does a great job of showing anger, but it's still hilarious at the same time.
Well, what it is, he's screaming, but his eyes are smiling when you watch him on stage. When he's angry, you can there's a twinkle. You can see the crinkle that he's enjoying it. If they stop seeing you enjoying the fun part of it, that's when it takes a turn, right?
Yeah.
Sebastian Maniscalco does it perfectly because he's always annoyed and angry, but it's always funny.
Yeah. Would you say Sebastian Maniscalco is one of your biggest influences?
Definitely,
in terms of comedy.
Yeah, I think as I get more comfortable on stage, I'm very expressive in normal life with my hands and stuff. But on stage, for the most part, I keep it pretty contained. That's something I'd want to get more into.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of confidence to do act outs and things like that. But I want to do them more because they're so scary to do. Because if you commit to a really big physical action, and it doesn't land, that's a sad return back to the neutral, right? You just been, all right. No.
Yeah, you get real small on the stage.
Yeah, and that's when you start to get that low back sweat, the cold low back sweat. Yeah.
There it is.
But
there it is.
I do want to get into other types of creative stuff, just to bring Lucas into this because I feel like it's been 99% comedy talk. But I'm here for it. It's great. But I just started to feel like a bad host, even though I'm the guest. I started writing scripts and stuff during quarantine because my stand up muscle wasn't there for me. So I tried to wrote a part of a sitcom pilot, a little initial thing about like being at home with my family during quarantine. But then I stopped seeing like, I'm like, oh, people won't want to watch this for a very long time. So then I kind of abandoned the idea because like a show about quarantine, no one wants to see that. I don't want to see that. Like, because I like the idea, and then about halfway through, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, and then I kind of changed it. But I started to get into like sketch writing and things like that.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. I mean, like, if anything, the first act of doing is just writing. Yeah. So at least like get that brain going, so that you know how to like speak for different characters and know how to speak for yourself at the same time too.
Yeah, and just being able to like kind of slip into the different perspectives. And the thing about scripts is that, like, you probably know this better than I am, Lucas. It's like they take a long fucking time. Like, and even when you're working on them by yourself, especially if you're working on it with someone else, if the back and forth, it's gonna take a while to like get through it. But I hope that this set will give us some traction, so I can get in some sort of agent or something and do like commercials and stuff. Being a comedian, it's really hard to try and get representation if you don't have a demonstrable success already.
Yeah.
And I hope that this will be enough to be able to like get the email opened once I start sending them out.
Is that like kind of your next step? Because I do want to, we talk about making it and like, how we all get motivated to start doing it, but then also is like, we all have end goals or ideal goals that we want to get to. Is like, where would you say like your ideal trajectory is gonna go into?
Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, there we are.
Just Kumail, just like
kind of his trajectory, because he started in stand up and then he got into like acting and stuff, and then he got jacked as fuck to do action movies. I've been doing a lot of work during quarantine to get the third one to come closer. So I've been working out like twice a day for the past year and a half. Like, it's like I've gotten like some decent guns going, but it's the first time where I'm actually been like lean. Like, I've been muscular before, but I've never like had like lean muscle. It's always been like, I've always been like the kind of dad bod life. But now I like, this might be the first summer with abs, and I'm here for it. Also, nice. I want to get into commercials and stuff, because I'm, as my material tells you, it's like I am so ethnically ambiguous that any commercial, like, I could, whatever race you want.
That is true.
I'm there for it, because you don't have to state it, right? Because like, because I'm kind of like I'm writing this down right now before I say it, because it's a really good bit, and I'm a racial Rorschach test. You see what you want to see.
Yeah.
Like my face is like whatever you want. Like, the eye is in the beholder. They put whatever they want to on it. So I think that would be really cool. And
that's definitely versatility. You've got not only do you have the ethnic range, you have the age range with that divorced dad energy.
Oh yeah.
So you could go old, you could go young. It's all just different levels of hair. Whereas like, I think for me is very specifically one, but I think that's,
I mean, if they do a live action Ninja Turtles again,
because I'm a turtle. That's what it is. It's because of the turtle feature.
Your disdain makes it so much funnier.
That's great. Like I say I've received comments that I look like a turtle. I never said I accepted them. I never said it's like that is fair.
Get him, Josh. Get him.
Yeah, I just kind of internalized it, and maybe have it come out.
You get no sympathy from me. I got called Tits Nick for 8 months in university. I did not consent to that. I did not.
That's true.
There's another end to that bit that when I like do it on stage, because like I would always end it with "fuck you, Tess." Because that was the girl that came up with it.
Oh,
and
wow.
And people would always laugh really hard, because like that was where like the actual frustration and anger, like where that's funny, because people are like, oh, he still cares, because they can see the truth, and then it makes everything else funnier, right? But I didn't want to put her on blast.
Wait, so she called you Tits Nick, but were your tits bigger or small?
No, so what it was is that prior to working out a ton, like I would have like pecs, like I could always flex them, but they were very like the way that I carried fat, it was just like they went tit, like it was like a little. And then I still now I have large nipples, like they're like wide, but they have depth, which is the thing. So like no matter how much weight I would lose, I like when I wore a t-shirt, it would like kind of fall, like if it was loose, it would kind of like billow over the nipple. Like it would kind of
Oh.
like fall over the nipple, so you could always see them.
So
It
you could
always
see-
looked like I was cold.
So it's
So,
more
like,
nips.
It's not on
Nips.
her. Like they were always out, right? So like it was like it was, and it drew the eye, and so naturally, like, but you know, we could have come up with a different nickname.
Yeah, that was
the,
low
the
fruit,
core of
man.
it. But it's you know, I hold no ill grudges for, because I got to the point where like if I got to the point of acceptance and like owning it as like a funny thing, and then it just stopped bothering me. And then the funny thing is, now that I worked out more and like got leaner, like my pecs got bigger, and like that kind of like evened out the differential.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
now
yeah.
like it just looks normal. But
That's good.
I had to like write more material about it to try and like be like, not anymore. It's like now it's like blank, and I'm working on that.
Yeah. But hey, that's good for you for getting lean and stuff. I myself have been trying to get lean, get in better shape, and also I agree with you. I'm starting to see some abs, so it's like, yeah, this might be the first summer as well for me, where this is gonna be a hot comedian summer for us.
A hot Asian boy summer. Yeah, you got it.
That's what's up. That's what's
But
up.
yeah, I think I'm gonna say it on here so that I can't back out of it, and I don't bitch out. I want to do, like, challenge myself to do like outdoor like shows in like parks and stuff, just kind of like ambush stuff. I know I sent it in the group that we were in earlier, because I have a portable speaker that's got 10 hours of battery life.
Oh, cool.
And
Nice.
a wireless mic, so like I could just bring it anywhere, and like with a mic stand. And this past weekend I went and like drove by Trinity Bellwoods Park, and there was like a bunch of people there.
Oh,
and so I think that would be like super easy, because like everyone's starved for entertainment, and I feel like this is like the sweet spot where like you'll get the least amount of fuck you from strangers. And I want to try and challenge myself. So
yeah.
Josh, if you're down, I'm gonna ask you on the podcast so that you be accountable to your answer if you want to do that one time.
We'll see, because I know very much how that would work with my style, because my style is so much my voice in in a vacuum.
We'll get it real loud.
That in an environment where people are like playing frisbee is like one night
Spike ball.
stand. It's like, what? I don't hear it. Yeah, it's like
It'll be
I
so
know
fun.
but it's like
Even if it goes terribly,
Yeah.
think of the podcast content.
that,
Do it for
that
the
will be-
podcast, Josh. Think about, like, even if it goes well, amazing story to tell. If it goes terribly, even better story to tell. We got to do this. We got to force
That's
ourselves to have these experiences, you know. And I'd rather do this than go bungee jumping. Tell a story about that.
or
Bungee
what if,
jumping in New Zealand. You know?
Yeah, just like tell a joke right before you go bungee jumping, and then it's like when you bounce back up, is anybody laughing? Nobody's laughing. And then you just stay down.
That's what a Zoom comedy show is like.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
my
what-
god.
that's
Oh,
what
is
it is.
anybody laughing? Is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, great to be able to
Yeah.
dive in deeper with you, Nick. Looking forward
It's a
to
ton
be
of fun.
able to get back out there with you and be able to do some more shows with you as well. Like, I mean, I think we only did the first show we actually did together was the Fresh Rice show in front of
What a
us.
way to start. What a way
I
to
know,
start.
I know. I mean, it's like,
And
we
I'll
peaked
say it
early.
like at the end of this, because I doubt any of the other people that did the show would have listened to this all the way through. My parents told me that us two were the best of the night. And my mom is not one to say that like everything I do is great. So if she said it, I was like, oh, I'll take that as gospel. So I know I told you the night of that
Right.
you were their next favorite to the thing they created. But it was a really fun night. And
Yep,
I don't know if
definitely.
it was your friends, but I'm going to tell it because it was a great moment that like some random audience member gave me like a bag full of like, 6 joints. And it was like,
Oh.
as a thank you for making us laugh. And I was like, I've never been more flattered.
Wow,
So
yeah.
to any of your listeners, if you want to know how to thank me, you know now.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, same kind of response from my friends as well. They really liked your set. They thought you
Yeah.
had great stage presence. I mean, Lucas was there. He can definitely attest to kind of the audience's reaction there. So I think we definitely had a great show.
3 glasses of
environment
wine
was great.
Sweet spot.
And you said like you were like pretty high. Like, how high were you when you walked out on stage?
No, well, what I did was I ascribe very much to the practice how you play type of mantra. And for a lot of shows, what I would do, like doing them in the city or if I wasn't driving, like you're there and like, and and this is another humble brag, but as you get better at comedy, like you get put later in the show. Because like they put you later in the show, because like if you're good, it's harder for people who aren't as good as you to follow you. Right. And so that started to happen where I'd get pushed later and later to the show, and then I would show up, and a lot of the times they don't tell you when you're going to be on before you get there. So you get there, if the show time's 7:00, I would get there at 7:00, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm not on until 8:45. So like I what am I going to do until then? And then so a lot of the times the show's rougher comedians to watch, and you know it's not as fun to sit through. So I naturally I would you know bring a joint or something, and then smoke at the beginning of the show, and then so by the time I'm on stage, like I've sobered up and you know pretty much, but like I'm still a little giggly. So that's what I did for the show. Like during the first before our taping, there was another taping. Yeah. So at the beginning, before I watched that taping, I went and smoked a joint. So I was on the come down, like, and this was like 3 hours later. Right. Yeah. But then like, I was like, you know, I had a couple of 3 glasses of wine before going on, just to take the edge off. Cause I don't want to have any stutters or anything like that, or like, or nerves or anything like that. And I'm not saying that alcohol is great, but it is perfect for making sure you stop stuttering.
Yeah, no, I remember like when we saw the raw footage, you were laughing at the way you looked when you were on stage walking up to the center. It was almost like at that moment you realized everything was hitting. It's like, I just had like 3 glasses of wine and I'm on the come down, but like, what the fuck?
It was just sheer panic at the audience size. What would happen was I walked out, I looked at the audience, and then they went, woo! And then I went like, and then I came but I looked toward the back of the stage so that they couldn't see me. And then and then so like it took like a breath, and then I came back up with a smile. Yeah. But in the raw footage, there's a camera behind the stage that's behind us, like shooting the audience, and they caught that. And so when we watched the raw footage for the first time, I was dying laughing because I'm like, and Bong said he couldn't find the footage. I was pretty upset about that, but like I wanted to have that as a promo because it's just so funny because I look so happy, and then I'm like, and then immediately back, and it's like less than half a second. Right. It's like I don't know if you ever seen the show Lie to Me, but it was all about like micro expressions, telling how people lie. It was like it was a micro expression because it was such a quick muscle flexion.
Hilarious. Yeah, no, it's but yeah, looking forward to the future. We got, you know, on see what it looks like when we're making it, when we're made it. Per se.
How often are you checking the view counts?
For what? For your set.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Be honest with me.
I check it in between the few dozen times I watch it, so you know I just want to make sure.
I only watch mine the once. It makes me really uncomfortable. But I didn't look at the views because I didn't want to, and then my mom was like, "The views are getting up there," and I was like, "Huh?" And then I went and checked, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. It's gonna be debilitating. Yeah,
I definitely checked it more the first few days, but now it's kind of like just here or there to see what happens. But no, I'm just happy that it's out there. Happy for you as well, for everybody on the show to be able to see their material in that kind of environment. And we can only go up from here.
And we'll book so many more shows now because we have something that we can send to people. I'll probably invite you, but I think now that golf courses are open, I might drive around to some of the ones near me because they have like outdoor environments and stuff. And like now that I can send them a link to like, you know, good material that I can be like, hey, you know, let's try and organize a show or something. And because I think that's probably going to come back quicker than any open mics or anything like that.
Patio shows, absolutely.
Yeah, patio shows, outside stuff. But I don't want to be waiting around for a handout. So I'll probably shoot you some invites for that.
Yeah, dude, that's true hustle, man. That's good.
It's hard, man. The only reason I'm saying it here is because now I'm accountable.
There we are.
You know, that's why you got to say things because then it's like if you say like I'm gonna lose 80 pounds, like if you don't, like you're an asshole. Like you're just like why are you like telling us about it? Like if you're not gonna do it, like you're just wasting our time.
Yeah, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, and you know what? We're gonna end off this podcast with our traditional 10-letter word challenge that we like to do. 10-letter word. Well, no,
10 word association.
Yeah, 10-word association challenge that we like to do. So Lucas and I will have 10 words.
Do all of my answers have to be with 10 letters? Because it's going to take me longer to come up with answers.
Yeah, no. I mean, hey, you gotta tap into that 50% Indian spelling bee lineage. You gotta give me.
Xantham gum. XANTHAM.
Yeah, you got to give me that origin, that the country of origin. But yeah, let's get right into it. So get into a Zen mode, Nick. And
1 second, let me just take a sip of water.
Sure. Actually, Lucas, you want to go first?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Dude, I was hoping it'd be red wine in there, man.
No. It's a Wednesday.
Hump day.
All right. You feel loose? You feel good?
I had a few drinks last night. That's why.
Good, man.
With the release, Yeah.
Nice. All right. First word of 10. Attitude.
Lots.
Hair.
Lots.
Church.
None.
Ramen.
Some. Very rarely, oddly.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Maybe twice.
Forgettable.
Names.
Outside the party.
Failed endeavor.
Which was actually really funny, though, man.
Yeah.
You had your guest behind you the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. Italian.
Half.
Multiply.
Fear.
Oh, interesting.
I have a math major. I'm terrible at simple arithmetic.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
COVID.
Long.
Last one, Nick.
Sweaty.
Oh, what damn.
It's hot in here right now, and I've been sweating. I don't know if you could see, but like I've been steadily like getting shinier the whole time. It's not on you. I just forgot to turn off my fan. I didn't turn on my fan because I didn't want it to.
Yeah, no, same thing. It's hot. That's what's up. You got to turn off the AC when we record. But okay, all right. Let's get into my 10 words, Nick.
All right,
get into that Zen mode. First word. Your first word is childhood.
Fun.
Banana.
Nutella.
Sun.
Proud.
Solitude.
Necessary.
Goal.
Achievable.
River.
Phoenix. He's
Circle.
an actor. He's an actor. I just heard him on his mention on a podcast.
River Phoenix. Died too young.
Yeah.
Next word. Circle.
Rob Schneider.
I don't see the. Wait, what's that connection?
So in I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. This is, you couldn't make this movie now, but he played the Chinese officiant at a Niagara Falls chapel.
Right.
And he made this, when Chuck and Larry are getting married, he made this whole speech about like how the ring is like a circle. It's a circle because in the beginning, no end. And me, when I watch it with my mom, we died laughing at that. And every so often, well, it's one of our inside jokes now. Like we're just entered our lexicon. We're like a circle, and we'll just do it to each other in weird. I don't even know if that's a hate crime at this point to do the accent, but it just makes me it makes me so joyful, and like it's fun when you have that connection.
Nice, yeah. That's
watch that clip. It's hilarious. I don't know if it's PC anymore, but it's I stand by that. It's hilarious.
Hey, they milked the Chinese ethnicity as much as they could out of them. Because you go far back enough. Next word, kumquat.
Safe word.
Winning.
Not mine, but it sounds like a good one. Winning. Bad personality trait.
Interesting.
I know it's not a word, but
And finally, finished.
My water.
Very present, very in the moment, very present in the moment. All right.
Yes.
Great job, Nick. Thanks for coming on. It's been a great chance to really talk to you about, comedy and be able to get your experience. And I am looking forward to seeing where you go forward from here in the next few years as we keep on trying to make it. What's your social media handles? Anything to plug out there?
Yeah, I have Nick Fernandes Comedy on Instagram. Just go there. I have Facebook and stuff, but I don't check it. So I'm going to be real with you. Just go to the Instagram. In order to do comedy, social media is a part of it, and you need to do it. But I go through fits of being like, I don't like this. But then there's also like really, really great parts. And when it's good for connection, but some of the, you need to take breaks from it sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. And Lucas, what are your handles?
You can find me across social media at Lucas John Ing. Again, that last name is 2 letters, just N and a G. So look out for that. And Josh, where can people find you?
You can find me at Josh Yang Comedy across all social media, as well as don't forget to listen to the Sleep with Josh podcast. We're putting out new episodes because I've been lazy and I haven't been holding myself accountable. So now I definitely got to get that next episode out there because it's starting to get embarrassing, Josh. It's starting to get embarrassing. Not enough people are sleeping with you. So, you got to put that podcast out there. There's there's no double meaning behind that.
Now,
so you can look that up.
I have a genuine question here about your sleep podcast.
Yeah.
What happens if I'm not sure if you're a single man at the time right now, but what happens if you have a fan of your sleep podcast? Like she's like really, really into your sleep podcast, and then like you end up going out together. Like, do you think like it'll be a lot like a Pavlovian thing where if you get her into bed, she'll just like immediately fall asleep just because you're there? Like, is that a worry, or am I just like creating a new neuroses for you?
I mean, it's either they fall asleep or they turn a corner down a street and find the location they're looking for. So it's it's kind of varied. I just try not to speak. I just try not to talk. It's just just don't talk.
Yeah.
Then the talking leads the other stuff. But you know what's actually pretty hilarious about this? I think I mentioned it before, but I still keep checking the stats on it. Still, majority, 60 something, 2/3 of my listeners are women. Which is
Nice.
hilarious because my subject matter is not specifically like catered to women at all. And if anything, it's just the joke in the title and the voice. I'm imagining for some reason like maybe women will be less self-conscious about listening to
No, I think it's just your demographic is the people that would listen to a sleep podcast are probably mostly women. Like speaking for myself as a man, like a lot of the time what I'll do, if I'm having trouble going to sleep, I'll put on a movie that I've seen before because I don't have to listen to the dialogue because I know what's happening, right? I don't have to pay clue into it, and then it's just kind of like I'm falling asleep in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Whereas I've heard of like a lot of the women I've known, like they either listen to music or a true crime podcast, which is mind-boggling to me, right before bed. And so they'll be like they'll fall asleep too. And then she was stabbed 42 times in her own bed, and they're like, "Oh, like I don't understand. I don't understand it at all." Also, I should mention, I am starting a new podcast with a couple of other comedians, Dino, the Genetic Marvel, and Atlas Novak out of California. Actually, he asked me to be a part of it. It's we're working on the name, but right now the working name is Generation Dan. Or Gen Bridge. But those are the two we're playing with. We'll figure it out.
Cool.
But the conceit of it is one of us is from Gen X, one of us is from a millennial, and one of us is Gen Z. I represent Gen Z, but our initials spell out Dan, so we're Generation Dan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it just so happens that we fall in the generational order in the initials Dan. So it's X, millennial, Z.
Yeah.
All in the order. It's quite interesting.
Oh, cool. Well, definitely look out for that. Podcasts beget podcasts. We're a snake eating its own tail. So it's like that's how podcasting works.
Well, I want to get better at this, at being able to converse in long form. And the only way to do it, unfortunately, is to do it. If they suck in the beginning, I apologize, but we'll get there. Maybe my next, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great. Looking forward to it. We'll definitely do a shout out once the first episode comes out. But once again, thank you, Nick, and to everybody else. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, but also across all your podcast platforms. Thank you, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.